Hello, my name is Carmen Appelt, and I'm currently enrolled in the eye anatomy class for the fall 2022 semester at Texas Tech. This is a short video labeling 18 parts of the eye and listing their functions. I'm going to share my screen with you so we can see the diagram together. The eye is made up of two segments. The posterior segment, which is the back 2/3 of the eye, and then the anterior segment, which is all these parts in the front, and that's where we're going to start. The ora serrata here is actually a junction between the choroid and ciliary body. And so it's actually the transition piece that takes you from the simple part of the eye in the front to the more complex part of the eye in the back. Conjunctiva, this right here, is the transparent layer of mucous membrane that covers the inside of the eyelid. Next, we have the canal of Schlemm, which I had to look up because I always wondered where that name came from. The Canal of Schlemm, which sounds like it should be a place in Lord of the Rings movie or something, is actually named after Friedrich Schlemm. He was a German that was the first to discover the corneal nerves in the eye. If you look him up, he's quite interesting. He actually went to prison for a while for something. Anyway, next we have the iris, which is the colored part of your eye. And it's very unique because no two people have the exact same color eye, just like our fingerprints. I thought that was interesting. The iris has muscles in it that control the pupil. The lens is behind the iris. It changes shape to focus between near and distance. That's called accommodation. It's got a lot of bending power. And as we get older, it loses some of that bending power. And that's why you might see people over the age of 40 needing to have reading glasses to make up for that lack of bending power. The pupil, which some people might think is actually a black dot on the eye, is actually an opening, a hole that is there in the lens. Sorry, in the center of the iris. It changes size to let light in or block light. So it's actually protecting our eye from too much bright light, or it can open up to allow more light in so our eyes can adjust to dark places. And the pupil's constantly changing. One thing I found interesting is that our pupil actually gets smaller as we get older. Cornea is a very specialized tissue. It's the only transparent tissue in the body, no blood vessels at all, and it receives its nourishment through the aqueous, which is here. The aqueous is all this behind, right here in the curved part of the eye. It's actually a liquid. It's a fluid in the anterior segment, constantly being produced and drained. What it does is it cleans the lens, it nourishes the cornea, the lens, and the iris. Suspensory ligament, I think of it as a muscle that's shaped kind of like a hammock. So in the hammock is the lens. So it's kind of holding the lens in place. It sits on either side of the lens and holds it in position for us. And last but not least here, the ciliary body is, it actually produces the aqueous. So pretty important to produce that liquid that cleans and protects all of these parts. It flows through the pupil and into the anterior segment. Moving on to the back part of the eye, posterior. Vitreous is all of this in here. That is a gel-like substance behind the lens, and it fills the posterior chamber. Gives our eye that shape, fills that empty space. The optic nerve, very important because that is actually what takes those visual images to our brain to be processed. So it funnels all the information from the retina and sends it through a visual pathway to the occipital cortex. The optic disc, the little blind spot here, is the beginning of the optic nerve, and it's the point of entry for all those major blood vessels that supply the retina, which is here. Fovea centralis is the center of the macula, small depression within the retina where our acuity is the highest. And the macula is actually this tiny little spot, which I find fascinating because that's actually our area of best vision. It translates light that enters the eye into images for us. So it's responsible for that central vision that we need for the important tasks of reading and driving. The retina actually is composed of two cells, cones and rods. Cones are responsible for color vision, rods for night vision. The choroid right here is the part of the vascular, it's the layer of tissue, part of the middle layer of the wall of the eye. It supplies nutrients, maintains the temperature and volume of the eye. The sclera, which is definitely last but definitely not least because it's very important. It's the tough outer layer. It's what actually gives our eye the white color that it has. And it's very tough and it provides that layer of protection for all these delicate parts of our eye, and it actually can heal depending on the type of injury. So there you have it, the main 18 parts of the eye. You've been wonderful pupils. Thank you.